Greetings and welcome to our first live webinar sponsored by Westcliff Early Learning Academy, Growing Together. I'm Monica Heredia. I'm the director of Westcliff Early Learning Academy. I am an early childhood educator and administrator since 2009, and I couldn't be more thrilled to be here tonight with you guys. Stay tuned to the very end because we have a special raffle. We're going to be giving away an educational toy for your little one at home. There are so many different pedagogies out there. There's Reggio, there's Montessori, there's play-based, and I know it can be super overwhelming for parents to decide what's best for their family. So tonight we're going to dive into what all those philosophies mean and hopefully walk away with a little bit more information. I'm here with my coworker and friend, April. April, you want to introduce yourself?
Of course, Monica. Hi, everyone. My name is April, as you mentioned. I am the Director of Learning and Development at Westcliff University, and I'm super excited today because I have a 2-year-old son, first-time mom, and I have a bunch of questions for Monica, and I only know about Montessori. That's the only thing I know. Never heard of the other two, but I know play. You know, that's the So why don't we get into it?
Yeah, let's dive into it.
Let's talk about Montessori because I only know what Google told me. So what is Montessori and what is the environment like?
Sure. Okay. Well, Montessori was founded by Dr. Montessori, who is a physician and educator. She really wanted to create an environment and curriculum for children where it was child-led, and so that children could be independent, so that they could also love learning and could be self-sufficient. And so she really believed that the ages between 0 and 6 were the most important years. She actually coined that term, those years called the absorbent mind, because it's at this time that the children can just absorb all the information and all the environment around them just with very little effort.
I believe that too. They're like a sponge. So everything we say or do, they're watching.
It's so true because 90% of the brain growth, it happens by kindergarten. So this is really the time to learn new languages, introduce music and movement, all sorts of things. They just thrive around it during this age. So yeah, she coined the absorbent mind. And because she knows that children absorb, she also knows what motivates them because she's a physician, right? So she knows that children are motivated by freedom of choice. So children like a choice in what they do. And so the way she set up the environment and the classroom environment is that she made it very child-centric. So all the furniture continues to be child-like. Everything's at a child's level. It's all the cabinets and all the materials and activities within the Montessori classroom are accessible to children.
No, Montessori classrooms are the same no matter what country you go into. So a Montessori classroom here and a Montessori classroom in Mexico and a Montessori classroom in Italy, they are all going to have the same materials. They've been the same for years since it started in the 1900s.
Oh, I see. So are there any other unique attributes about this setting?
Yeah. So one of my favorite things is the practical life aspect. So it really values self-care and care of the environment. So, for example, for self-care, it's, putting on your jacket or doing buttons or being able to put on your shoes. In one of the Montessori classrooms I went to, they even had a sink and a little mirror. And then they had little toothbrushes. Every child had a little cup of their toothbrush. So after they ate lunch, they would go brush their teeth and take care of their teeth that way. So I really like that aspect. It really teaches them to be autonomous with their self-care instead of waiting for somebody to come brush their teeth for them. They can do it. And then the other piece about that is also taking care of the environment. So there's all sorts of activities set up around the classroom that are sweeping or washing the plate or cutting a snack, cutting a banana, cutting food, folding little napkins, window washing, silverware polishing, all those that really drive the fine motor skills. But also, to us, we're like, oh, we have to fold our laundry, or oh, we have to sweep the floors.
We don't really like folding laundry, do we?
But to children, that's so exciting. They like to learn that process. So
my son's into cutting the fruits right now. The Velcro ones, one is his favorite toy.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Another unique attribute is there. A lot of the activities are self-correcting. So, for example, a spindle box. A spindle box is a mathematical activity done in a Montessori classroom that's represented in a Montessori classroom, and they each have little rods. It's to promote one-to-one correspondence. So they each take the little rods and put the rods in. If it's number 1, they'll put 1 rod. If it's number 2, they'll put 2 rods in. So at the very end, if they have extra rods or are missing rods and can't get to 10, they know that they've done it wrong. They do not have to go to a teacher to go see if they did it correctly. They can just look at it and say, oh, well, I must have made a mistake, and then they can redo it. So it really, again, promotes autonomy and independence and intrinsic motivation to get it right.
Definitely. Yeah, and then they solve their problem on their own. Earlier you mentioned about Amelia, Reggio Emilia. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Okay, so Reggio Emilia was another Italian curriculum. It was founded after World War II by Loris Malaguzzi. And he really wanted to create an educational system that was holistic and believed in children's capabilities. So he really saw children as their ideas and their words as being valued, and he wanted to create a curriculum around that, because one of the terms that we use in Reggio Emilia is 100 languages of children. So children have 100 languages, 100 ways to express themselves. Sometimes they like to do art, sometimes they like to talk, do poetry, do songs, anything. There's 100 ways that they learn and that they can express themselves. And I think that's kind of a really beautiful perspective to have.
That's definitely beautiful. I can resonate with that. I have a background in neurolinguistic programming, and a lot of it is having us understand the other person and how they communicate. And even through the words they use, we can see if they're more visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. And then we will, in return, speak the language that they understand. And I think that really is beautiful to know that this philosophy, it's aligned with that.
The environment there is very similar because it does value the children. It's a beautiful environment. It's supposed to be more home-like, lots of little lamps, lots of plants. The other aspect of the environment is that it's also very natural. There's lots of natural materials around. There's pine cones, there's gems, there's rocks, there's sticks, really giving children that opportunity to engage in nature within the classroom as well as outside the classroom. So that's part of the environment, just bringing the outdoors inside and to engage in the outdoors also. Another aspect of it that's kind of unique is the documentation in the children's work. So when children do work, they're really proud of it, right?
Yes.
And so we, as parents, sometimes we don't want to have a whole wall of different art that they do, but in Reggio Emilia, they do put their work up. They do want to show that it's important work. And a lot of it is process art. It's process, not product, but really showing the discovery there and showing the documentation of the learning. So sometimes you can't always express the learning just on a piece of paper. So in Reggio Emilia, they'll take videos, they'll take pictures, and they'll display it, and the children can watch videos of themselves engaging in different activities.
Oh, it's good to know. My husband actually loves recording and taking pictures of everything. So we have folders and folders of my son, and I actually replay his photos or his videos for him when he does something good, and that's something that's memorable, and he knows how to work the phone pretty well.
That's awesome, because that's part of Reggio, was seeing the beginning. This is how you started, and this is how you ended, so they can personally see their projects through video and photos.
So what about the teacher? How are they different in this role?
Sure. So the teacher does an emergent curriculum. So emergent curriculum is following the child's lead. And so, you'll say following the child's lead, my kid loves Spider-Man, right? We're not going to study and learn about Spider-Man.
Spiders.
But we do an emergent curriculum with the project approach formula. And so I think the best way for me to give an example of that is give an example of a project that I've done in the past with children. And so I had a group of kids, and and they loved princesses. They loved princesses, would play princess all the time, would use all the scarves and dress ups and everything. And I asked them one time, I said, well, you guys play princesses all the time. What is it about princesses that you like so much? And they said, well, they have beautiful dresses and they live in castles. And I was like, okay, I got bingo. That's something I can work with now, right? So we started a castle study, and we started asking, okay, where are castles located? What are they made out of? Who lived in them? How long ago were they there? What type of rooms do they have? And so we did a huge, big castle study. So it involved, the math, the literacy, the science, the history, all of that around this one subject. And we threw in the dresses too. Some.
I know my niece, she loves dresses. She wears the same dress over and over all the time. She's into princess.
So yeah, and part of Reggio too is to involve the parents. So we had a dad came in who visited a castle, and they could interview him, their questions regarding as being has actually been in a castle before. He could actually speak to that.
Yeah.
And so the children got to ask him questions. And that really does bring up a lot of self-confidence too, because, a 3-year-old interviewing an adult can be kind of intimidating, but that's part of the Reggio process, is that it involves children and parents and learning together. So as you can see, I didn't know a lot about castles at the time, but I became an expert along with them as we learned about castles.
So it allowed you as a teacher to learn with the kids, with the students, and learn something, as you both are experts now.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
I'll ask you questions when I want to be a princess.
Yeah, exactly. But as an educator, it's a different subject every year, but it's the same formula. It's the same project approach. How can we weave in the science, the math, the literacy into this project, and doing specifics around that, along with the developmental domains too.
I see. What other attributes are good about this philosophy?
So something that's very unique to Reggio is provocations. So it's an invitation to explore hands-on activities with open-ended results. So, what does your alphabet look like? And they'd put different materials out on the table, different they could put sticks or cylinders or gems or rocks, and it's just open-ended. How can you build your alphabet? What letters are in your name? And they could take that and do it one way and realize, oh, some letters have curvy lines and some letters have straight lines, and how do I build this? And it's just really open-ended, so the child can go back to it and do it a different way every single time. So it really promotes critical thinking skills, because there's not one way to do it. There's multiple ways to do it.
So they're going to create letters with sticks and then realize they might have to use gems to make the curves.
Exactly. Yeah. So if they're trying to do the O and they're trying to use straight lines, they're realizing, oh, well, I can't use straight lines to make a curve. I have to use something else.
Oh, that's very creative. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy those for my son. So let's talk more about play then. I heard you talk about play earlier.
Yeah. So the play-based approach, all schools were play-based approach in the 70s and 80s. In the 70s and 80s, most preschools were play-based. And that kind of shifted in the 90s. There was a shift towards academics and really wanting children to know their ABCs and their numbers and how to write their name. And so there was a shift there to really promoting academics. They noticed that the children could recite their ABCs, they could maybe write their name, but they were lacking a lot of skills to succeed socially and environmentally in an environment.
We can see that today.
Yeah, and so they've really switched that around. They've noticed that, really promoting a holistic play-based approach promotes social and emotional development, and also critical thinking skills, because they are offering open-ended activities. So in a play-based curriculum, a child gets to choose what they want to play, how long they want to play, and the plan for play. So it really gives them a lot of autonomy to decide how they're going to carry this out. The other piece about play-based is that, it's process-oriented. It's about the process, not the product. So, building a castle or, building something with blocks or something like that, learning how to use that and building it with a team or building it with your teacher. It's a very social environment that they're in. So learning how to work cooperatively. Again, child-size furniture. And also plays used a lot for therapy for kids. It's a way to process things that, and things that happen in their lives or things that happen to them. An example of that being I used to babysit in college. And one of the children, I babysat in LA, and some of the kids I babysat for, they had to evacuate their house because there was a fire.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so they had to evacuate. They had to go stay at a hotel. They didn't have their toys. They didn't have like their normal food. They were 3 and 7, so they're young. And then everything was fine. They moved back to their house. They moved back. And so when I was watching them and was taking care of them, they kept playing the game Fire. And they would take their people and they'd build a house and they'd build the hotel, and they'd go, oh no, there's a fire. And then they'd go back and they played this, they'd go to the hotel and then they'd come back, oh, everything's fine. And so that was them processing that big event that they went through that was so new to them, and working through that.
I think that's important, because how often do we as adults haven't been able to process some of the things that occurred with us?
Mm-hmm.
I read The Whole Brain Child. It's a book for my, when I was pregnant, I wanted to listen to it, and now that I have a son. There was a technique that they share where if a student or a child is trying to process something, you can ask them to play the incident in their mind as a video, and they have the ability to press pause anytime. So they can press pause to talk about it, or press pause to come back later. It gives them the autonomy to process it, but it allows the parent or the teacher to process what happened with them. And I think that's very important to be able to overcome challenges that occur.
Yeah, I think children are definitely more in tune to that than adults.
Right.
So for sure.
So what about the teacher? What's their role in this play base?
Yeah, so the teacher's role is to extend the learning. So the teacher will ask questions to engage the child and to get them to come to a conclusion on their own. An example of that would be if a child is, building a block tower and he's putting all the heavy blocks on top and the little ones at the bottom, and it keeps falling over and he's getting frustrated and he leaves. Well, the teacher would come to him and say, I noticed you're building a tower, and I noticed you put the big ones on top and little ones at the bottom. I wonder what would happen if you put the little ones on top and the big ones on the bottom. And so she just re-engaged him in the activity. She just, introduced him to a concept of physics, science, different weights. And so she brought him back to that activity. And so he can do that activity and then come to that conclusion on his own. So it's very similar to Montessori in its self-correcting, but it just gets a little prompt from the teacher.
Yeah, and like we can guide them. I was just actually sharing with my mom, because Eli, my son, was playing with cylinder toy. And I was telling her, instead of telling him what he's doing wrong or showing him, just make a sound or like, give him a different look or something so he can figure it out himself. And I like that. So what about unique attributes? Anything else you want to share with us about the play base?
Yeah, so play base really it's very strong in social emotional development, because children do have to figure out how to work together, and there's many different stages of play. There's actually 6 different stages of play, which I'll definitely get into at another time, but you could be playing with a child, they could be playing with a child who's at a level 3 and they're at a level 6. So how do you bridge that gap of development, and how do you work that out? So it's really conflict resolution, a lot of conflict resolution in social emotional development.
Definitely a skill set that we all need to learn. Well, thank you so much, Monica. That was very informative. As a mom, I've learned a lot. I only really knew about Montessori, and I've learned a lot more. And I did ask my husband to sign on. So I hope you're watching, because I hope you took some good notes, okay? But thank you so much. And I hope everyone here also have been able to gain some insight on the different types of philosophies that we have at what Monica's Westcliff Early Learning Academy.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
thank you so much.
Thank you, April, for being here with me. I really appreciate the conversation. But if you guys have any questions, please send them in right now on the chat. But I would like to take this opportunity to talk about Westcliff Early Learning Academy. It is located in the Tustin, Irvine area. We cater to infant, toddlers, and preschoolers. We offer full days, half days, and 3 days a week. And we are a part of Westcliff University. And so we have the opportunity to collaborate with collegiate professionals regarding early childhood development and research. So we really have a great opportunity with our partnership with Westcliff University. We also offer world languages. We're starting with Vietnamese, and hopefully we're going to add more. Hopefully we're going to add more languages. And we also really believe in prioritizing healthy living. So the children get healthy snacks throughout the day, and we have eco-friendly practices. We use eco-friendly cleaning products in our facility, really emphasized on the health part. And then again, what we've been talking about for this last half hour, which is Reggio Montessori and play-based curriculum, we offer a blend of all those at our school. And so instead of just choosing, one path for your child, why not choose all three and see how they thrive and grow, and support them and celebrate them as they discover the way that they learn best. Please sign up for our next webinar that's going to be happening September 18th, Navigating Transitions from Home to an Early Learning Environment. There's going to be lots of good information on that. So again, April, thank you for being here. And thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We hope to see you again on September 18th. Have a great night.